Hello, Factorio people. Factorio Overexplained is back with me, Fenton. Is my on-screen doodler working? Yes, it is. Whoop, 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 whoop. Right, we have to get oil, which is up here, as we previously established. Give me some more grenades, and I've got everything on me to get oil sorted, and trains and stuff. And we're going to do that as best we can. I added, if I just go into the map view here, I added chemical plants and oil refineries to them all just for the sake of simplicity. But I won't explain exactly what those do until I put them down, which may not even be this episode, I don't know. It really depends on how long I can talk about trains for. I suspect a while. Let's begin by deciding where our station is going to be. Where are we going to unload the oil? I think this space over here is quite nice. Personally, I think we're going to plan to take it this way, just because these are the trees I blew up, and then it will come down here. Oh god, there's a lot of trees, isn't there? And there's all these cliffs. I did make this line through here, so I guess it's going to come this way. It's going to do something like this, right through that patch of stone. We'll cross that bridge. We'll cross that bridge. Right, as I explained before, you can use grenades very helpfully to blow up trees because you can't build through trees. Right, let's start. Let's just flip and start, shall we? Rails. They are 2 by 2, but they exist on their own pseudo grid. You'll see here if I turn the tile grid on and put a rail down, they are 2 by 2 grid squares, but they will always be these 2 by 2 grid squares. They will always be aligned in the chunk, which is the dark line here. You cannot ever then have train like this. We know that this is has to be either here or then here, and then by virtue of all of that has to be here. That's not hugely important until you start putting your city blocks down, and even then you can sort it. Right, so you can click and drag, or you can just click, sorry, to put each individual piece down. You can click and drag in the same way with belts, but unlike belts, they don't have smart building. I shouldn't have done that because that's going to now take forever to turn back. You can make curves by pressing R to rotate the item the same way you would a belt. That can take a little while to get through what you want, and then that doesn't work. The absolute best way to do it is to just choose the direction that you're starting in, and then click the green arrow over the end, what is now currently the end of your track. And then this gets you the planner. And basically, as you move the mouse around, it tells you here's the track that you can build in that scenario. So if you put your mouse over here, it can do this. It will say these rocks are in the way. You can do some weird stuff. Not with pressing R at this point. So if you're just plopping rail down, especially in a straight line, this is the best way to do it. And that's what we're going to do for a little while up here. The other thing you can do is you can hold shift to get your ghost planner up in the same way with anything, but when you've got the ghost planner up, it will go for as far as possible. Not only that, if you press R, it will rotate the end point and build the rail, or plan the rail at least, in any way. So if you want to turn your rail around here, you can hold shift to see the plan, and then you can press and put that plan down and then build over it paint by numbers style like this. That's obviously not what we're doing. We want to go this way. Okay, let me just check the time, because I once again forgot to put a clock on to know exactly when I started. All we're going to be doing is taking oil in, out from here and bringing it to here. But I did mention a rail network at one point, and I am of the firm opinion that you want to just start your rail network. I'm just getting rid of these rocks because they're obviously going to be in the way. The first train you build should be part of the larger rail network that is going to end up existing, just because it saves you a lot of hassle later on. And a good rail network will have lanes, and you will define, you will define one line of trains will only ever go this way, and the other line of trains will only ever go this way. You can do left-hand drive or right-hand drive. I prefer left-hand drive because I live in a country where we drive on the left. I don't really think there's much difference between left-hand and right-hand drive as far as I'm aware. Don't think functionally means anything. So we want all our trains, so when our trains are coming into the base, we're going to have two lines of rails, and the trains are going to come this way. Then that means that we're going to need to turn them around here, and then they'll go back off this way. This solves a whole bunch of problems. Just doing it like this, you don't have to worry about signaling in like lay-bys and stuff. Thinking, oh, I'll just save some rail by just start off with just a two-rail system. Just start off with it. All right, I'm here to tell you that straight away. It's also very helpful because trains cannot reverse when they are going automatically. You can get in a train and you can press backwards and it will reverse, but when you get to automating the trains and you tell a train, alright, go to this station and then go to this station, the train will only ever drive forwards. So that means you either have to build two-headed trains with one locomotive facing this way, then your carriage is here and another locomotive facing this way, or you have to do this system here where you have you could obviously have a single lane that then turns around and joins back on itself and goes this way, but it doesn't make much sense to do that, because as soon as you want to add a second train to this, you come into a whole bunch of problems. You may as well just start with the two-lane system like this. So then this means if we plan this out, we will have, I can do plus or minus, right, to make my, what was it, period and comma or something to do, make my mouse, make the thing bigger. Yeah, there we go. So we'll have one that does this and then goes up here and then turns around and then comes back. Forgive the terrible drawing, of course. But then that means that when we want to start tapping this oil, we can just build another path off like this and have it come back like that. It just makes it very scalable, and it stops you from getting in a mess too quickly. So let's just keep building some rail, and then once you get robots, putting rail down is even easier than that. And we will do the turning around bit here like this. So again, I'm holding shift and I'm pressing R to rotate to get a nice loop here. I mean, obviously I could just, it's harder to do it manually like this, I find, building a loop, because it's hard to know exactly which one of these steps is the one that will get you the nice rounded loop. So I like to hold shift and get the ghost planner out and do it like this, and then it becomes easier to just do paint by numbers like this. But even then, see, imagine trying to do this without the guide. Pain. There we go. That's the one. We'll put our first station down. So if you're going for left-hand drive, then obviously put it on the side which, I mean, in this exact example, I suppose you have to do right-hand drive, but no, it's fine. Left-hand drive, the station goes on the... Oh, that's my cat. Did you hear that? Left-hand drive, the station goes on the right, and you can see that with these arrows here telling you the direction that the train will have to travel to hit this station. So let's put it there, and we'll know now then when we hover over it, we'll see this first one will have to be the locomotive. The second one, that can then be anything. If you attach two locomotives to each other, your trains will go twice as fast. Not twice as fast, but you know what I mean. Whoops, but what I've planned for in this scenario is locomotive and then two fluid wagons here like this. So if I put my station here, then that means I'll be unloading the oil, the crude oil this way, and I'll send it down with pipes, and then I'll have my oil processing going on just here. The mall is not really going to need to get much bigger than this ever. I don't think. Famous last words, of course. Always leave more space than you think, and I have not done that here. I could have easily moved this across, and I probably should. But I won't, because no one wants to see that. The other benefit of doing it like this, leaving exactly two rails here like this, is you can fit pylons nice and neatly in the middle. So you can drag your power at the same time, and then once you start getting blueprints, if I quickly ignore exactly everything I'm doing here, but I've got some left-hand drive blueprints here that I got from the internet. I've also got some of my own modular grid section ones here that I made myself. So, for example, oh no, this doesn't work because the pylons aren't going in the middle of the rail in those designs. So ignore that entirely. In fact, right. So now we've got the unenviable task of. That was good. Yeah, just blow the rails up. Got the unenviable task of getting rid of all these trees and building this rail up there. But that's okay, I think. I did clear some space for some of this to happen. Yeah, I mean this is another good example of why I should have just built it here in the first place, because then I don't have to. I'll tell you what, I will do that, and I will make an edit in YouTube. So I'll have to keep recording because my recording software doesn't let me pause the recording. But I will just cut and do a wipe. Can I do wipes in YouTube? Well, you're about to find out. Okay, we're almost there now. Here's the oil here, and then let me just turn the thing around. There we go. Just have to get rid of these trees. They're in the way. Bloody trees always in the way. There. Cool. There's nothing stopping you from building over like this. There's also nothing stopping those trains from crashing. And not going to go into signals today because they are quite complicated, and we won't need them because we're only going to have one train on the line. And I did end up building right through the middle of that stone patch, which is quite funny. And it's also a bit squiffy here because these are the trees I'd already destroyed and I was in a bit of a rush. It's fine. It's fine. This will not last forever. We can tidy it up, especially once we get robots making rails, tidying things up. It all becomes a little bit easier. Right, let's put these pump jacks down, shall we? We can press Q on the oil patch here to bring up our pump jacks in the same way that you can press Q on something that you need to mine. Just check I'm not muted. And there were 10, if I believe we counted correctly, so we're just going to bung these down. The blue arrow is going to be its output. We can rotate them once they're down, so let's just get them down for now. Just holding the mouse and going over. I didn't bring any power with me, but that's okay, we'll sort that out. Pipes. So these output into pipes. We've used pipes for the water. It's exactly the same principle. I'm going to build my station first, just so I know roughly where I need to bring the pipes. Now we want a left-hand drive. I like to put the station just at the very last moment before the turn, just so that I know that it's as far forward as it can be. Clear out this space. Not worth using a grenade for these trees. Okay, right, let's look at loading the train. I'm going to put the train down, just so that it's there. Obviously, locomotive must be built on rails. If you've got a station down already, it will click itself in, it will lock itself in. You can put it down anywhere when there's not a station. But if you've got a station and you put it down, it will go there, because the game is nice enough to think that, oh, you want to start from the station. And I've already built a couple of fluid wagons, because obviously we're moving fluids, and it's highly likely that fluids will be the first thing that you move by train as well. And again, they will just connect if you lock them into the station. To load fluid onto the train, you need a pump, the same pump that you're using. Oh no, I haven't actually used any of these pumps. A different pump than you're using. Not a offshore pump, but an actual pump. A pump. Pumping speed 12,000 per second. I've never known that to be a problem. And a pump right next to the fluid wagon, you'll get the yellow square to tell you that it's going to load into that. Okay. If I turn the grid back on and show you, doing trains is a bit squiffy because these are 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's always a space for the connection, and then the next lot is 6. The next one is 6, but then because your rails are always, so that makes it 7 between, and your rails are always in a certain place. Pumps especially, it's hard to make it look nice and symmetrical. But this one was the 4th square down, so believe it or not, that is actually pumping into the same square of the fluid wagon, even though, as I say, because it's an odd number between each wagon. Right. Storage tanks. We've not used storage tanks before. They do exactly what you would imagine. Whoops. They are basically large pipe segments. They can hold 5,000, I want to say. 25,000, good lord. They can hold 25,000 of a fluid. And it's a good idea to store like this. If you don't have these and you're just bringing the crude oil in via pumps, this will go very quickly. This will go 12,000 a second until all the pipes are empty. And then it's only going to load as fast as this. And also that means that the pipes will be backed up when there's nothing. If there's nothing to load, the pipes will be backed up. 25,000 is the same as the storage volume of one of these train wagons, which is quite handy. So I mean, in theory, you could do two. I'm going to link these up. How am I going to link these up? I'm going to do it like this. Fluid behaves like so strangely. And do it like this. The best way to think of it is, in between pump segments, the fluid will try and balance itself out between every single segment. And then fluid canisters are counted as one segment. So if you've got, each pipe can hold 100, I believe. Is that correct? I don't know without actually putting something in. I believe it's 100. So if you had a very small amount in, you might get like maybe 20 in each pipe segment, 20 fluid and here and 20 fluid here. But then as soon as stuff rushes in via the pump, anything on this side of the pump's going to push through, and then everything will balance itself out here like this. So as long as you've got more than enough to fill this pipe, then all of the excess will go in here. It's a bit more complicated than that. You have to maintain pressure, and undergrounds don't count for pipe segments when pressure is only maintained over a certain number of pipe segments. So you'd have to put pumps in between. But obviously if you put a pump here like this, then that makes this obviously not like this. You have it all connected with pipes. That turns this segment into something completely different. So nothing will go in here because the pump will be prioritized, so only this will fill up first. Which, you know, is arguably not really functionally any different. But because our train instruction is going to be wait until you're full, we really want these to be filling up. As I say, it's not going to make a huge amount of difference. Especially because I don't see a train coming and going that often. It's going to be moving 50,000 crude oil. We're not going to be using 50,000 crude oil in any meaningful way. Right, so now we just got to get all of the crude oil from the pump jacks to the train. So I'm just pointing them all now to the middle, now that I've worked out that this is going to be where everything's going in. The best way I've found to do it is to build like a spine. That is absolutely no good, is it? It's to build a spine and then move everything to the spine. You can see undergrounds are quite long. You can see that. Put that there, and then have a secondary spine over here. But you're not connected in any way. If I rotate this, it sticks into this, so it's going to have to point this way, so I should probably make this bit a bit further down, like that. You're in a kind of weird place, but I'll just connect you there. It's not worth losing any sleep over making this as efficient as possible. There is a website, I believe there is a cool website that shows, that like calculates the minimum number of pipe segments that it would use. And then I'm just going to tidy up some of the larger sections of pipes because, yeah, the game calculates pipe segments. This would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but even though this is going underground, this is only 2. So this is losing more pressure than this. It makes not a huge amount of difference. And then I'm going to put a pump at this end just to make sure that everything moves along. Right, I need to just power everything, which without substations is a pain. We'll get substations once we start getting plastic, which we'll get once we start getting crude oil sorted. Substations are just... they don't have a large wire reach between them, but they power a very large area. as opposed to pylons, which are the exact opposite. They don't power a large area, but you can have a very large wire reach in between them. Okay, so let's start stretching the pylons out. Is that going to reach to the middle of my track? No, how rude. I don't need that one there anyway, because I need some power poles here to power. This pump is not powered. These pumps aren't powered. I should put a radar down here as well, shouldn't I, so that I can see what's going on when I'm not here. This pump also doesn't have a power supply on it. I won't need lights, because I'm only ever going to be looking... Yeah. Right. Let's get in the train. I'm pressing enter to get in the train, the same way I do with the car, and have a look at the train, shall we? You can see where the train is. You can click, this is like a map view for just the train, even though it acts exactly like the real map. You can change the colour of the train, make it black because it's carrying crude oil. Fuel is anything. I got all that wood from the chopping all the trees down, and a schedule. Let's quickly look at a station. You can click a station from wherever and change it. You don't have to be right next to it. So we'll call this. If we click this icon here, we can use any of the game's pre-built icons. It used to be that you had to type that with rich text. Fluid equals, and then you had to know what the fluid was called, hyphens and everything. Crude oil out. There we go, that'll do. I got out of the train there. Right. So now I can drive the train, and much like I can drive the car, because I put some fuel in it. It's not going to go exceedingly quickly. It's not going to blow your mind with how fast it is, because I've only put wood in, and wood is not the most efficient. It's only got a fuel value, and I believe there's some penalty for using wood. Anyway, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine moving in the train with the click and hold trick with the pylons, or power poles generally, so we know that when you click and hold, it builds the power poles at the optimal distance. So then now if I start driving... Oh yeah! Oh, now I'm in the wrong place. Now the mouse cursor's in the wrong place. Just stop. Stop, reverse. Flip, reverse it. Like, what was that boy band? Can't remember. It wasn't Busted. It was another less known one. Comment in the put a comment if you know. Right, I've got a diagonal bit here which I'm not a huge fan of, but needs must. Just doing this. This is it's clunky. It is clunky. You're not wrong. Is this too many squares apart here? Oh my god. Oh my god. No, no, it isn't. It's fine. It's fine. It can't be 5 squares apart anyway. I don't know what I'm talking about. And just sideways it looks a bit different, doesn't it? Once we get robots and we start doing city block style, I'm going to obviously get rid of any diagonal rail sections. And just have everything either be in a straight line or a perfect curve. That one was wrong, I realised that. Don't tell me. I will go back and fix it. Right, this is as far as we got. Trains can't fall off the edge of the track, which is quite funny. Signals don't have to be powered. I don't have any signals, and I don't intend to use any signals on this track currently until I add a second train to it. But they don't have to be powered. If they did, this system would be doubly as effective, because then obviously you could put your signals in the spaces, but they don't have to be. So there you go. But if they did change it so they did, none of my builds would be affected, because I'd put my signals there. Ha ha ha. Take that, Factorio devs. Okay. You can also, in the same vein, build your track like this as you're going, Wallace and Gromit style, if anyone is old enough to remember that. In the wrong trousers, where Gromit sat on the model train kit on the front, and he's laying the track down as the model train's going. At speed, I should add. Let me clear enough of a space to demonstrate that. The next grenade damage up needs military science, which I don't have, but that would definitely make my grenades get rid of the trees in one go. Like this. Lol. Right, that'll do. That's far too far down, but it's fine. Alright, turn me around, holding shift here to get the rail planner up, pressing R to rotate the end point of the track, and it needs to be 1, 2 on the third one away, so that's a potentially perfect circle. It doesn't look like it's a perfect circle, doesn't it? It actually looks quite wrong, but if you do that with that very last bit here, you can see that it is, in fact, a perfect circle. And then we'll just connect this bit up. 63 rail left, 56, 49, 42, 35. There we go, look at that. Started with 1,000 rail. There's a tree in the way. It's a very camouflaged tree. And then the last train stop needs to go somewhere where I can unload the oil from it, and then unloading the oil is exactly the same as loading the oil. You just point the pumps the other way. So the train is going to stop there. So that's going to unload that oil canister, that's going to unload that oil canister, and then we'll unload into storage tanks as well. I'm going to just put those the other way around so they at least match the loading station. And then we can build oil processing here. But obviously we've got a few things to tidy up. First, we have to bring the power supply along. There. This is why robots are so good, because building this by hand can take a long time. So you only really need to do this one for oil if you're lucky enough or unlucky enough for your oil to be far enough apart. I'm not going to put that there because I guarantee I'll have to move it when the... I think putting it here is okay. I'm going to definitely be bringing blue science up onto its own belt here, like this, and using long-handed inserters to load it into the labs. I'm out of long-handed inserters. I'm going to build that last one while I'm here, otherwise I'll be annoyed with myself. So I don't see why I would need more space than that. Alright, and the last pylon can go, I don't know, there, like that. So when we put this down, we should immediately see this area come online because of the radar we put down. And then that should also let us have a quick look at if everything's working or not. So there we go, the radar comes online. Our pump jacks start working. These pumps start working, and we can see here that the crude oil is filling up, 489. So they're roughly even-ish. Why don't these pipe segments have 100 oil in? I thought that's how it worked. So these are filling up. Are these all working? You can see if they're working when they're moving. If one of them isn't moving, something's gone wrong. But they are all moving, aren't they? Yes. They mine at 1 per second, but based on the yield of each individual spot, they go differently. But you can see at least it mines, the pump jacks work at 1 per second, but the yield is gives us 9.3 per second on this one. This one's 14.9, this one's 32, this one has a very high yield, 12.7. And these numbers will go down as the yield decreases as we mine. They never ever go to 0. I'm pretty sure that's true. They never ever go to 0. So now what we need to do is tell the train... No, we need to do this. I was looking at the time, like, how have I been recording for so long? But I've just realised I'm going to take a big segment out, aren't I? Put you there, and then... Ugh, no, don't like that. That looks ugly. I'll put a pylon here, and then I'll do this. That also looks ugly. There we go. That looks less ugly. Right. We need to name this station. You can click a station to give it the same name. Why you'd want to do that, I don't know. In this scenario, obviously, if you've got a big rail network and you just want a train to go and get iron from somewhere, you can have 5 or 6 iron outposts all called iron something, iron out or whatever, and then it will just pick one. You can also set a train limit on the station, but we'll get to that much later in the game. We don't need it right now. Obviously, all our train is doing is, if we click it to give it an instruction, add station, we are going from oil out, and then we can set the weight conditions here. Obviously, the only weight condition we care about right now is to have full cargo. And then once that is satisfied, you can add more. You can say full cargo and 5 seconds of inactivity, or full cargo and a circuit condition if you want to make it really complicated. You could add the actual literal fluid that you are doing. So you could say leave once the crude oil is greater than 49,999. Again, that becomes useful when you're building trains that have multiple cargo, which might happen. You could say wait for this much oil and this much sulfuric acid, or this much water and this much lubricant or something, I don't know. Obviously the simplest thing to do is to just only have one item per train, but that's sometimes not always the case. Especially once you start mining uranium. Uranium needs sulfuric acid to mine. You need to hook sulfuric acid up to your uranium mining. So sometimes you want one train that is taking sulfuric acid out and bringing uranium back. But then obviously you're loading sulfuric acid where you're unloading uranium, and then you need a few more complicated conditions here for what the locomotive needs to do. But obviously we'll get to that. I'm just explaining to you, over-explaining to you even. Haha, haha. Go to oil out and wait until you've got full cargo. Then please go to oil in and wait until you have empty cargo. And then I'm going to get in the train just for fun, and then I'm going to click it to automatic, and we'll see what happens. So you can see here the game is telling me it's on this step, and we can see here on the map it's pathfinding. The game is smart enough to know when you click the stations here which ones it can access. If they're in red, they exist on the map somewhere, but this train is unable to get to it. So you might have some problems there. So then here we go. The pumps attach. They start pumping. We didn't quite get enough through all of that waiting, but we can see here in the train that we're almost there, about 95% of the way there. So that's just going to slowly tick up as more oil comes in. We can go over each one of our individual, each individual car and see this one is almost there. This one is slightly lagging behind. And that'll be some idiosyncrasy with the fluid, I guess. This pump is probably closer to this tank, so this tank is getting more filled first. I don't know, as I say, fluids act extremely strangely. Tick-tock. We need to obviously think about how we're going to fuel this train, because this wood isn't going to last long. And in the short term, it's going to just be a simple case of putting a box and an arm next to one of the stations and filling that box with coal. It won't be until we start actually getting solid fuel and possibly even rocket fuel that we will be doing anything more than that. It's on its way back, isn't it? Look at that. That's nice. Turning around, stopping. The pumps hook up, they unload. Obviously they're going at 12. The pumps get out of the train quickly. The pumps are going at 12,000 per second, so they will unload a lot faster than they'll load unless your tanks are completely full. Which obviously they won't be. This will barely be full at all now because it's going straight back. All of that time we spent faffing around, these were filling up. Now it's just going to be waiting. So here we go. But this is more than enough to start with. And that's what we'll be looking at next time. We'll be looking at actually processing this crude oil. So I hope that was interesting. Basic trains, very basic trains. Very basic trains and basic cargo, I suppose. There's obviously a lot more to go through with trains in terms of signalling and train limits and, you know, doing stuff like this. You can do that, God knows. That's crazy, you know? So thank you so much for watching. Any questions, as always, just put them in the comments and I'll endeavour to answer them either in a video, if I can, or I'll just reply to you. So if you want to leave a like or a comment, that would be great. And if you want to see more Factorio Over-Explained, be sure to subscribe. I'm just racking my brain for anything obvious in the basic trains that I've forgotten about. Stations. You can colour the stations as well if you really wanted to. It's functionally useless, but it looks nice, I suppose, with your trains. Here we go. I'm really far away, so I can actually change this station. If I just click on it from the map, I can change it. I can see the trains that have that stop. I can change the colour. I can open the train from here. I can change the train's itinerary, even if I'm not next to it. I can press this one, open this location in the map, so I can see exactly what's going on. That becomes more relevant, obviously, when your base is like flipping huge and you've just got a long list of trains. You press O to open the train overview. See a list of trains and a list of stations. The trains just, you know, again show you where they are, which you can click, and the stations show you trains going that may go there, that can go there. It's all very good. It's all very good. But as I say, we're mostly doing this now just because over a certain distance, moving things by a train is just the most efficient way to do things. Over short distances, of course, belts, pipes, whatever, you'd be mad to try and pump this crude oil all the way to your base here. And it gave me a good excuse to show off trains. So, yes. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, etc. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.